Hello everyone and welcome back to the Netherworld Bibliothèque. My name is Vervain and today I'm going to be doing something that is halfway between an unboxing and a video journal. So as you can see behind me, I have this deck of tarot cards. This is the Visconti di Modrone, which is one of the oldest tarot card sets in the world. It comes from Milan in the mid-1400s. And as I discussed in one of my previous videos, with tarot cards, with anything really, but with tarot cards, every time you create a new deck, every time you reimagine or reinterpret the tarot meaning, there is the chance that something could be lost. So for my personal development as a tarot reader and the way that I want to engage with the cards, I thought it would be best to go back in time and to find the earliest deck that I could find and see originally, in the beginning, what was the meaning of the tarot cards? What cards were included, how are they depicted, and what is their conventional meaning? So stick around as I explore the world of the Visconti di Modrone. This edition of the Visconti di Modrone tarot cards was published in 2023 by Scarabeo, and the cards were restored by Mattia D'Auge, who is an Italian interdisciplinary artist based in Turin. So first I'll just show you the box, and this really gives you an idea of what there is to come. First you can see there's this glossy pattern in the background. It kind of reminds me of like the Gucci pattern. And then we can see we've got a lot of silver and gold, which gives us a taste of what the cards have in store for us. You can see that the packaging is quite sturdy, so you don't have to worry about where you're going to put your cards, how you're going to keep them safe. The packaging does a good job of that. And I should say that these are museum quality, or that's what they say. That's what they were until I started handling them without white gloves. But if you put your white gloves on, you can keep them in mint condition. So very helpfully, these tarot cards come with a little instruction manual in both English and Italian, which I think is a really nice touch. Again, because tarot cards, so as we know them with the major and the minor arcana, they are originally an Italian product. So I like that an Italian artist was involved in restoring them and the manual is in Italian. That just seems right to me. Alrighty, so flicking through, we can see that this is a pip deck. So what that means is the minor arcana just shows what the card is. So like the Four of Swords, it just has 4 swords. The Five of Cups, it just has 5 cups. Although as you can see, they're really beautiful, really shiny. So in terms of shuffling, I don't really like to do the riffle shuffle, so like the one at the casino where you split the cards in half. I don't like to do that with my tarot cards. I'm more of the opinion that there's something special, something formal, maybe something spiritual. So yeah, just treating them like common playing cards, being rough with them. That's not really how I like to treat my cards. Obviously, each to their own. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but for me personally, that's not how I like to shuffle the cards. And especially this deck, as you can see, they've got the gold and the silver leaf. If I were to bend them like that doing the riffle shuffle, I think I could damage them, so I won't be doing that. Well, I don't do that, and I will continue not doing that in the future. Next we have the court cards, and in the more mainstream decks, so like the Marseille, the Rider White, so on and so forth, we usually have the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. In this deck, you can see that we have 2 more cards in each court. So we've got the page or the knave, then we have the lady, we have the Equestrienne, so like the female knight, then we have the knight, then we have the queen and the king. And this is precisely why I wanted to go back to an original tarot deck or one of the oldest tarot decks, because this is precisely what I was worried about, that somewhere along the line the message would be lost or misinterpreted. So if, like me, you've been using the Rider White deck or any of these other more mainstream or newer decks, they typically don't have the lady and the equestrienne. So if that was a message intended for you, you could never get it because those decks don't have these cards. And I'm also pleasantly surprised that it's equal because now we have 3 males and 3 females in each court, whereas before it was just the queen. But yeah, I wonder who made the decision that we don't need these women, we should remove them. Because, you know, I'm pleasantly surprised that in the 1400s, these women were represented in the court cards, and then moving forward somewhere along the line, someone chose to discontinue them. Moving on to the major arcana, we have 3 additional cards. Those being the 3 theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. So if you've ever seen one of those necklaces that has 3 pendants in one, having a heart, a cross, and an anchor, that is faith, hope, and charity. And so that made me look at the other cards, because strength, temperance, and justice, those are 3 out of the 4 philosophical or cardinal virtues. So in Greek philosophy, the 4 cardinal virtues, and cardinal meaning that they are like pivotal, or like all the other virtues depend on you having these 4. Those 4 are meant to be prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude, although fortitude has some different names, but one thing at a time. So now, looking at this deck, we have 6 of the 7 virtues. We're only missing prudence, or like knowledge, but knowledge through lived experience. That one is missing, but otherwise we've got strength or fortitude, we've got temperance, we've got justice, and now we've got faith, hope, and charity. So here we have a few explanations as to why we have 6 out of the 7, because what makes the most sense to me is that we're missing yet another card, and there should be a prudence card, and that just hasn't been found or hasn't been recreated. That's what makes the most sense to me, but other people have some different ideas. Some people like to think that if you use the tarot cards aptly, that is how you will gain prudence or wisdom. So prudence is encompassed within all of the tarot cards. I like that. I think that's a close runner-up, but I still like the idea that we're missing just the prudence card. Another idea is that there are other cards that encompass this idea. So for instance, the Hermit. Typically the Hermit is someone who withdraws for some contemplation, maybe study. Sometimes the Hermit is depicted holding a light, which could represent knowledge, so being illuminated, like the Illuminati. Yeah, some people also think that maybe the High Priestess with her book, maybe she represents knowledge or prudence. I like it, I see the logic, but, you know, it doesn't make sense if we have other cards that specifically are just called strength or temperance. It just seems more consistent that you would also have one that is just prudence, not the Hermit representing prudence. And then also we have the Thoth deck, where it's the 8 of discs that is actually called prudence. So there are some more modern decks or more mainstream decks that have added this cardinal virtue. The other virtue that I got stuck on was strength or fortitude or courage or forza. Because all of these words mean something slightly different, something similar, something that overlaps, but not quite the same thing. So ideally, I would like to go back to Greek philosophy and find originally, when the 4 cardinal virtues were written down, what were they called? What is the Greek word for courage or fortitude, whatever it is? And how was that word translated into English? But ideally, what is the original word in Greek? Because fortitude means usually like to withstand. It's more about being steadfast in the face of adversity, whereas courage is having the strength to act. Whereas what's the other one? Strength. I think strength is more about physical power, taking a physical action. And then on the Italian cards, it's called forza, which literally translated is force, which is, again, physical, but closer to violence. So I want to go back to the source. What is the original meaning of this card, or of this virtue? But then on the tarot cards, it is in Italian, and it is forza. It's a mystery. It's something that I'm going to spend the short term investigating. Also, we have the two new court cards. We've got the Lady and the Equestrienne of whatever court it is. So there's just a few lines written about the ladies. It can be one of two things. It can be either someone of this physical appearance, or it can be someone of this personality. So again, I've got some more investigation to do to learn how to interpret these cards. The last thing I want to talk about is how I interpret the cards. So luckily, this deck comes with a little instruction manual, and pretty early on, so the Fool, card 0 in the Major Arcana, we see a difference. So typically I would interpret the Fool as look before you leap. It's a new start, it's being optimistic, but don't be naive. However, in the little booklet included with this deck, the Fool is more about being foolish or being mad. It's acting without reason. It's maybe not being guided by the teachings of religion, or it could be just believing something but without having rational logic behind it. And that's really different from how I would typically interpret the Fool. And so I thought, okay, well, who wrote this book? Where did this booklet come from? I still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. But I think I will be referencing this book because I do watch another channel here on YouTube called Activist Witch, and Isha, the person in charge at that channel, she is half Italian. She grew up in Italy, and she did something. She made a video recently about reading tarot, and she did mention that the Fool, the Magician, and the Hanged Man are interpreted differently according to Italian cartomancers. So if an Italian person says, hey, the Fool is typically, you know, someone foolish or someone mad, if an Italian person confirms that, then that gives me faith that I am interpreting the cards correctly. Hey everyone, I don't know where my outro went, but I don't want to leave you so abruptly, so I've had to jump back in here just to film the outro. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is where my tarot practice is headed. I believe I also mentioned in the outro that disappeared that I would like to use the Visconti di Modrone in my pick-a-card readings, but usually in those readings I have all different tarot decks and I ask, pick which deck appeals to you and I'll use that one to do your readings. In the future, I don't think I'll do that because I think the Visconti di Modrone will literally outshine all of the other decks with all of its gold and silver. So in the future, I might just stick to using a crystal or something like that and being like, pick which crystal calls out to you, and whichever one you pick, I'm going to use the Visconti di Modrone to do your reading. Yep, so that's what you can expect from me in the future, but don't hold your breath because I do upload sporadically. Let me know how you read tarot. Let me know what you've done to develop your practice, and if you've developed it going forwards, going back in time as I have, going laterally. Let me know if you recommend any good tarot references or resources. But otherwise, that's it for today. Thank you for stopping by, and maybe I will see you next time.